Guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how we were able to help a U.S.-based national nonprofit organization that had 5 locations not only get a better phone system, but save a significant amount on their monthly phone bill and get 46 free IP phones. So, let's see here. I got a lot of notes here, so we're going to go over this. So, in short, who is the nonprofit? It is the National Audubon Society, also known as Audubon by their later logo. They've been around for many, many years, but for those of you who are watching this that run a nonprofit, work for a nonprofit, or part of a nonprofit organization, I'm sure you know who the National Audubon Society is. So, in the beginning, when the National Audubon Society found us, through our YouTube and Google, of course, they basically contacted us and said that they were paying too much for phone and internet. We're also working with them on internet stuff, but that's a story for another day. The short of it is we worked with these guys or heard about these guys about 5 months ago. They reached out to us and they came to us, and the dilemma that they had was as follows. They had 5 locations, but they had kind of sort of just a hodgepodge of everything. They were way overpaying for their phone and internet service, but more importantly, the phone system that they had in place was not actually serving the company in the manner that they needed. More elaborately, the way that it was not serving them is that they literally had a hodgepodge. They had in one location, they had an existing Vonage business phone system that was out of contract that I want to say had somewhere around like 6 phones. They had one location that was just using regular analog lines, and then the other 3 out of the 5 locations were using AT&T voice over IP. What they had tried to do before contacting us was they went to AT&T directly and said, hey, what would it cost and what would it take for us to expand this existing AT&T phone system to the other locations? The weird thing about the AT&T setup that they had was that it wasn't actually connected between the 3 existing locations that did have AT&T voice over IP. It was still a voice over IP through AT&T, but it was like independent, separate phone systems that weren't, able to talk together or transfer extensions between each other and calls and conference and all that type of stuff. So upon chatting with my contact over at the National Audubon Society, what we ended up finding out was when she went to AT&T and said, hey, what would it cost to upgrade the system so that we can not only communicate with the 3 existing locations, but connect and add phones to the other 2 locations, making for 5 total? What would that, entail? And the funny thing was what AT&T had quoted them was so much more. It was actually more to upgrade the system and connect the existing 3 locations and then bring in the other 5 locations and the other 2 locations and supply phones to the other 2 existing locations for the total of 5. It was actually more expensive to do that than to just look at another carrier. So when they contacted me, I said, okay, well, the biggest question is are you still in contract with AT&T? Because I'm always pretty protective about making sure that a client is not going to switch to a service provider that we recommend and then turn around and get hit with terrible ETF, also called early termination fees, from the other carrier. So we sat and we thought, okay, so you've got analog lines in one of the 5 locations, Vonage in another one of the 5 locations on an existing contract that's in good standing, and then you've got AT&T in the 3 locations that is looking really expensive to upgrade in comparison to other providers, other options. So, I contacted some of my peoples over at Vonage Business and I said, hey, these guys need a lot of phones. They need somewhere around like 46 phones. I think they've actually added phones. I think they're up to 50 now. But at the time of the working with these guys, it was exactly 46 phones were needed for everything that was existing. And I asked Vonage Business, I said, I know you guys normally don't do free phones or offer phones for somebody who's already on an existing account. You only do that for new accounts. But what if we take this existing account, we expand it to the 5 locations? Would you guys be willing to help them out, cut them a break? Because 46 Polycom phones for a business, that's a lot of money. That's getting into like literally the thousands of dollars at that point. It's a big expense. So I got with my peoples at Vonage. It took a couple of days, but they basically came back and said, okay, look, if these guys, let's find out what these guys think of Vonage to begin with. So I went back to my contact and said, hey, What do you guys think of Vonage? We personally like Vonage at Rich Technology Group. We endorse them quite a bit for a lot of customers that fit that Vonage need. That Vonage has the needs and has the phone system that fits the caveat. But I just wanted to know from them, before we go down this road, what do you guys think of Vonage? And the client told me point blank, we don't really like AT&T. We've only had nothing but good experiences with Vonage, but it's only in one location. And I said, okay, let me chat with Vonage and go from there. We got back with Vonage and had Vonage do a portability check on all of their AT&T numbers to make sure that they would be able to port their numbers from AT&T to Vonage. And then I did get Vonage to okay giving them the 46 phones for free as long as they were willing to sign a 2-year agreement. The funny thing was, these guys were on almost like a 5-year agreement with AT&T, and they were paying significantly more per month than what it was going to be with Vonage Business. The funny thing is when I got back with the client to find out, okay, what are your termination fees going to be with AT&T if we switch to Vonage? The amount that Vonage was actually charging for the voice over IP phone, which for these guys was right around, I want to say after taxes and fees and everything, it was right at like $1,100 a month for a 46 extension phone system with all the bells and whistles, music on hold, call transfer, conferencing, auto attendant capability, just everything that you would expect in a typical phone system for somebody that would need with 5 locations. The ability to transfer calls and answer calls between the multiple locations, and for the locations to be able to connect the 46 extensions as if they were all in the same office so that it was seamless to their clients and whatnot. That basically we were able to do for about like $1,100 a month on a 2-year agreement. When I went back and got with my client, they said, well, wow, just for the 3 locations, we're paying over $2,000 a month just for the AT&T voice over IP in only 3 locations. So that told me right then and there, they were going to be looking at probably close to $3,000 a month or more to be able to go with the AT&T voice over IP. So, in short, what this basically means is, again, while I stated that I normally prefer that customers that come to us are out of contract when we switch them to another carrier so that we can make sure they don't get hit with ETF fees, in the case of the National Audubon Society, it didn't matter. These guys were saving so much. They were going to be saving almost 60% on their monthly phone bill in comparison to AT&T for not only a better phone system that was more feature rich, but for brand new phones, brand new Polycom phones, and also the ability to be able to expand the system to the other 2 locations and conjoin all 5 locations together, which was something they couldn't do with the existing system that they were paying almost 60% more for. So, anyways, let me check my notes here and make sure we're on track. What we were able to get for these guys was free phones. The other big thing, if you're somebody who's a nonprofit or business in general who's watching this, Vonage has a thing where if your monthly phone bill with them is going to be $200 a month before taxes or more, you basically get free installation from Vonage Business. Free installation, free handling of like auto attendants and things like that, what we call the red carpet treatment. The red carpet service at Vonage Business. So not only did these guys get 46 free included Polycom phones with their system, they got the Polycom VVX 250s, which at the time of this video is like the newest, latest, and greatest, one of the most popular Polycom phones on the market across many carriers. They got free installation. Included in that free installation, Vonage's internal team handled their number porting because these guys had 5 phone numbers that needed to be ported, a number for each location. And I believe they also had faxes as well. That's the other thing is included in that, we also had them switch their faxes to virtual fax to Vonage Business, which actually saved them quite a bit of money because Vonage's virtual fax goes for like $14.99 a month. Whereas for those of you watching, if you've got analog fax with any carrier out there in the market, you know that you're probably paying upwards of about $28 to $35 a month for fax. So it's roughly half price when you go with Vonage Business on VoIP service versus analog fax. Number porting support, as I mentioned, free installation, the free phones. Again, they couldn't get around the hefty cancellation fees with AT&T, but it didn't matter because when we looked at the numbers and did the math, it looked like within the first year, they were going to make up for what the early termination fees were because of the significant savings from switching to Vonage Business versus the AT&T hosted voice over IP service that they already had, which was underserving them. Some other perks that I wanted to throw out there that I just want those of you who are watching this video that may run or operate a nonprofit and are thinking about voice over IP in general, that Vonage was able to offer that are kind of perks for nonprofit organizations. First of all, even though it's not something that they'll do automatically, it's something that me or yourself can call in to do with Vonage Business. If you call into them and into their billing department and you're able to supply the proper paperwork that proves that you are a legitimate nonprofit organization and you are tax exempt, there are certain taxes that you are not required to pay on your phone bill. So just let's forget about Vonage for a minute. If you're watching this video and you're a nonprofit organization and you are paying specific taxes that you're exempt from, you need to contact your phone provider right now, because you can get exempt from specific taxes. It is the law. You can't get exempt from all of them. I want to be clear about that. Like 911, there are some certain federal taxes that you are not exempt from. 911 is one of them, and then there's a bunch of other federal stuff. But you can be exempt from some of the ones that you may already be paying. So if you're not sure what those are, I recommend that you contact your provider and just say, hey, I'm a nonprofit. Can you do a bill check and make sure that I'm not overpaying for taxes that I may be, legally exempt from? Separate billing is a big one. With the National Audubon Society and with some nonprofits, some of you who may be watching this video, I understand that you guys have specific accounting requirements to be able to show specific profits and losses for not only the nonprofit as a whole, but for specific locations, especially if you have different managers and different bank accounts for different locations, to be able to easily manage the finances across nonprofits that might have multi-locale. Most of these service providers, and Vonage for sure, I know because we had to do this with the National Audubon Society, you can go to them and say, hey, even though this is one account and we do want the phone system to be uniform so that all of the extensions in the different locations can communicate as one organization, can we get the billing separated separately per location for tax purposes and for accounting purposes? You can do that with Vonage Business, and their accounting department will happily do that for you to make your financial management life easier for your nonprofit organization. So that's another perk there that I highly recommend you take advantage of when working with Vonage Business or with any voice over IP carrier. Basically, as I stated before, free phones are permitted. There's one thing I want to throw out here. Some of you might be watching and you might be thinking, I'm a small nonprofit. I've only got like 5 employees or 10 employees. I don't need 50 phones or anything like that. It doesn't matter. Vonage Business understands that nonprofits are specifically just that. They are not-for-profit organizations. While some of them may have a lot of money, some of them don't. So they understand that to get your business and to gain your trust and to help your bottom line, giving you free phones might be what needs to happen to seal the deal. So understand that they work with nonprofits that need just 2 extensions and phones covered, or 4 extensions and phones covered, or only 20, or a lot less than the example that we've given in this scenario. So anyways, if you are a nonprofit and you're watching this video and you're thinking, we need a better phone system, but we don't have a lot of money in the bank to, plunk down on new phones, or you're a nonprofit that's watching this that's a large operation and you need the benefit of a phone system that can handle multi-locale, whatever, whether small, medium size, or big, give me a shout. Let me help you out. I think Vonage Business is a great option for nonprofit organizations, especially if you're looking for low cost, easy billing statement, and phone subsidized so that you don't have a lot of upfront costs, and more importantly, great short-term installation and long-term support for your phone system. Again, Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. I'll catch you guys again in the next video.